Hey guys, my name is Lakeisha Jordan, owner of Comfit Academy. And I wanted to offer all of you guys an opportunity to learn how mastering communication can actually help you enhance your lives. See, for me, I had no awareness whatsoever that there was a deep connection between the way we communicated with ourselves and others and the way that many things in our lives turned out. Unfortunately, because of that, I did a lot of learning the hard way. See, I grew up in New York City in the foster care system. I was removed from my mom at the age of 9. And the reason I was removed was because of course, a lot of toxic behaviors from my parents, a lot of drug abuse, a lot of physical abuse, and things like that. And in the midst of this toxic environment, of course, I was having a lot of toxic communication poured into me, whether it been from the kids at school that picked on me because I didn't always wear the best clothes, I was dingy, and of course I'm living in a home where people weren't caring for me the way that I deserved to be cared for. But that didn't change once I got into the foster care system, folks. I literally had to endure so much abuse, whether it be verbal, physical, mental, emotional, because the only thing that I knew to be solid in my life was a lot of toxic behavior and toxic communication. However, as I got older and I really sat down and started looking at myself and seeing how life had kind of went in this roller coaster ride for me, I decided something had to give. And it wasn't until literally just a few years back that I took a moment out to analyze my life. Realized that I spent most of my life suffering from anxiety. Very bad. I don't know how many of you guys know what that feels like, but I suffered from anxiety most of my life. And until 4 years ago, it didn't even dawn on me that I had PTSD. Why? Because I wasn't at war, because I didn't go through, a lot of the things that people would consider PTSD worthy. Only I didn't realize that the trauma I had endured as a child had not only created PTSD within me, but it also helped me to completely botch my communication with myself. So what this meant was, as an adult now, I'm making poor choices. I'm telling myself that I don't deserve more than. So that meant when I got into relationships, it didn't matter if I was being verbally and emotionally abused, mentally abused, because this is all I deserved. I wasn't able to communicate with myself in a manner that would help me better understand that I deserved more. Why? Because everything that was poured into me was what I learned to regurgitate. And this is where mastering communication became a weapon of mass destruction for all those lies from my past. Because what I was not aware of was, one, that we really are capable of changing the language we have with ourselves. And that once that language is changed, everything around us tends to take a turn for the better. See, it was a very rough situation that put me into a place where I had to sit my behind down, look myself in the mirror and say, Lakeisha, enough is enough. Because I remember growing up with my mother, who was a drug addict. My biological mother was a drug addict most of her life. And probably about 8 years before she passed away or so, she was clean. She had just become clean. And me, I said, Mom, I wanted to know, where was the turn in your life where you just were like, enough? And she shared something with me that till this day has stuck with me. She said, you just have to be tired of being tired, baby girl. Life changes for you when you're no longer talking about being tired, when you're no longer sharing with the world how tired you are. But when you're finally tired of being tired, you take action. And I believe that's exactly what happened to me 4 years ago. I kind of got tired of being tired. 5 kids. I'm working a job that seems like it's a dead end place to be. I'm literally aware of what my purpose is. Like I knew I love to help people. I was aware that, this was a calling in my life. So at the time I was working in mental and behavioral health for 10 years, helping people that had mental and behavioral health issues, mostly younger folks, and then advocating for families in the community for many years. However, I was still constantly telling myself, no, you can't be a business owner. There's no way that'll work. You're not able to do it. No, nobody in your family did it. The language was ridiculous. So when I finally stepped out and decided that I was going to listen to everything I was telling myself and start changing my language, life literally took a turn for the better. Just a few years back, in 2016, I got the biggest wake-up call. It was called death. Because starting in March of 2016, I started losing real close loved ones in droves, literally. It started with my adopted mother. Then a few months later, my adopted father passed away. Shortly after that, the role model in my life, one of my foster mothers, Gloria Hamilton, who changed the entire course of my life, passed away just shortly after my adopted father. But of course, God wasn't done handing me death. So a couple of months after that, my biological mother passed away. You figure at this point, most people are done, right? I'm like, no, I have these kids. I got to be strong. Then come January 2017. And the father of my children passed away unexpectedly at 35 years old. I promise you guys, I was done. I was so done. I'm looking at trying to already keep myself together because I just lost all of these adult figures that played major roles in my lives. And now I'm losing my children's father and having to explain to them that dad is never coming back. It was time for me to really start communicating heavily and productively with myself in order for me to not just be strong for my children, but to also really sit down and analyze the course in life that I had been taking all these years. And yes, guys, you heard me right. I said father to my children. Because as a toxic person coming up, there was this mentality for me that because I wasn't worthy of healthy relationships, I kind of gravitated to nothing but unhealthy relationships. Because of the fact that I was used to being bullied and picked on throughout my life, I would definitely shut the heck up when I was in the midst of coworkers and people that just wanted to run over me. But once I learned how to master communication, not only did I become more assertive, but I changed the language in which I spoke to myself and other people. And it literally allowed me an opportunity to start becoming more positive, carrying myself in a more positive manner, and authentically and genuinely, fiercely and boldly going after the change I deserved in my life. No longer did I have to put up with toxic relationships because I deserved more. I didn't have to settle for a 9-to-5 job to pay the bills when it was destined for me to become an entrepreneur. I was no longer telling myself about how ugly I was, how fat I was, because now when I look in the mirror, I realize those lies that I was telling myself was solely because of what people were handing me. So if any of you guys understand what this feels like, I want to invite all of you guys with me to the communication arena in order for us to start learning how to reconstruct our communication first with ourselves and then others in order for us to start literally living not just in our purpose, but purposefully, productively. See, because as an adult, I had 5 children. And in the beginning of me having children, let me remind you, I was a very toxic person because I'm putting out what was poured into me. So now I'm actually raising my children in the same manner that was poured on me. Well, similar, not same, because I refuse to literally abuse my children. I refuse to do that. However, I had no problems with trying to figure out what is wrong with you, doing the same similar things that was just natural to me because that's all I saw. Once I started discovering the things within me that were toxic and that needed to come out, I started plucking those seeds. And once I started plucking those, let me take that back. I started plucking those weeds. And once I started plucking those weeds, my children actually started seeing a mother they didn't even know existed. Because to be honest with you guys, I didn't even know she existed. I started carrying a level of confidence that did not need anyone's approval. I started being in a position where, and I've done this, guys, I was able to actually date men and like kind of get to know men and let them know straight off the bat, this is what I will stand for. This is what I will not stand for. And I'm not worried about how you feel about it. What I want to make sure of is that I am aware of my value and you don't have to be. But as long as you don't know, you're not allowed to be in my life. I started going to work, and all of a sudden when people would think they were going to talk to me any old way and, put me down, I'm like, wait, hold up. This is not the conversation we're going to have in this manner, because you are talking to an adult who actually works for their paycheck just like you. All the conversations started getting deep, folks. And once those conversations started getting deep, people were just like, whoa, who is this person? But when I looked in the mirror, I liked that person. Because that person was someone who cared enough about herself to stand up for herself, to actually recognize all the beauty that existed within me. And I needed no one's approval to do so. And so I'm sharing this with all of you guys because I'm sure there's people out there right now that are just working because they have to pay the bills, not realizing that no matter what, every blessing that's laid out for you in life is going to be there. You just have to get used to telling yourself the truth about your life. No matter what's going on around you, you are always in a position to create a change in your space that will offer you peace and productivity, because you deserve that. So I want you guys to literally join me on this journey as I give all of you an opportunity to learn the language of productive communication. Because in this training, you will learn the difference between effective communication and productive communication. You will learn what it looks like to be able to be tuned in with the world around you in a way that you recognize that everything that we're hearing and we're seeing has an impact on us that sometimes we don't pay attention to. But yet these impacts dictate our moves and the way that we move in life. Our doubts and our fears will always be laid out strictly because of how we decide to communicate with ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but about 4 years ago, I got tired of being tired. If any of you guys understand where I'm coming from and you can actually relate to being in a position where you're just tired of being tired, you're tired of the same life cycle, toxic relationships, unhealthy communication with your children or your husband, your wife. If you're just sick of it saying, why is everything always going wrong for me? Or why can't I just get that consistent break? You guys deserve to join me for this free webinar. And all you have to do is click down below in order to save your seat. I look forward to seeing every one of you guys at this webinar, because I guarantee you the way that I will bring to you the methods in which I've used in order to enhance my life for the better and my family's lives will not be anything you've ever seen before. That I can guarantee. Guys, I've been doing this for quite some time before I made a business out of it. And I have many people that are completely thrown aback at how communication has been able to change their lives once they got productive with their methods of communicating with themselves and other people. So I challenge you to join me for this free webinar. I look forward to seeing every one of you guys there, and I want y'all to have an amazing day. Are you guys ready to get fit in your communication? Come join me, because I look forward to seeing all of you there.